name. It said Shamega Johnson and talked about them stealing her underwear. The book depicts me as a pickaninny, exotic and decadent with my slender body. So you think all of these law enforcement people, including lawyers are supposed to enforce the law pretty much. The issue would let me sit around thinking it's me, and they're going to keep playing mind games with me, the people harassing me and gang stalking me, that there's going to be a big reveal. That was, for me, the big reveal. Could you imagine I'm sitting around wanting to be a writer myself? So I'm going to talk more about this whole idea that they claim that white men would be repulsed by my vagina, that I should be washing my ass. So this monitoring, hey, baby, someone said. Hi. I'm going to start, talking in the chat. So if you have questions, feel free to ask. Again, the Northbury papers written by Joanne Dobson. The character's name is Shamega. I'm Shamega. That happened to be my professor at Fordham University. So the whole point becomes, if this book didn't exist and I've had people read the book, given them copies, it would have been revealed already. So that's not going to be the big reveal. The big reveal is that they're going to keep harassing me and playing mind games on me and thinking that no one would ever care. I can't get anyone to stop this from happening. They said they could grandfather this crime, meaning if I had been in this program from a child, it could be grandfathered. I was not, and they've admitted it repeatedly. And on top of me not having been in the program and it started, I think what happened was when they were investigating me and pretty much stalking me, they stumbled upon the book and all of the chaos started. And then when I was going to leave the job, because there were things happening on the job that I didn't want to be involved in, and they're like, they said it out loud, so why are we arguing right now? They're trying to get me to stop talking about it, but you admitted it out loud. Then suddenly I'm being stalked and I can't leave. Then I get sick. And I even, show medical records at the time. I get all these marks on my body. So they start torturing and harassing me, saying I'm not nice. And I've shown repeatedly reviews saying how I have a great attitude. I'm great with people. I speak well to people. I'm professional. I'm nice to people or friendly. But suddenly, like years later, all of this comes out. It's ridiculous. So the technology that you use made me very sick. You can tell my voice is, I did like an almost 5-hour live one night. Fine. The next day did like a 2-hour, I think it was, live. Fine. Suddenly last night they start doing all this stuff. I recorded, my voice sounds weird in the live, and I get up and my voice is gone again. So it wasn't from the talking, because I did 2 nights in a row. It was from this technology. So they sabotaged my last video. My last video, they made it weird sounding. Then they muted the sound because I said exactly what they were saying, which was sexually harassing, telling me to wash my ass. So if you're going to monetize, you're monitoring me, but I can't get monetized. So they lied and said I couldn't get monetized on YouTube. When I joined in 2014 with the old Cup of Jar Productions channel, which you can tell there was proof that it existed because I have it on Pinterest, I was automatically monetized. Everyone was. So it makes sense that they did sabotage me because by about, I believe it could have been 2018, I started getting weird comments. Before that, the comments were great. I had great interactions with people leaving comments on my video. I left comments on other people's videos. It was fine. So they said the reason they sabotaged me is because they always have to keep me in a certain group of people. I don't understand what that group is because, again, they said, let's put it this way, if this was something that they did that was grandfathered, it wasn't going to be Catholic school kids because everyone in Catholic school isn't getting treated like this. Maybe it was for Catholics and I wasn't a Catholic. They said, so in elementary school, they said they started this. But it wouldn't make sense that the elementary schoolmate family would know about it and other kids in my school wouldn't. So it had to come from her. There's no way that other kids in my school growing up whose families I stayed in contact with, some of them would never mention anything to me. So they said, who? We went from elementary school to high school together. You really think that I wasn't in contact with some of those people? How could I have not been in contact if we went to high school together? This is how this was supposed to work. It was supposed to be a bunch of people who don't know what they're talking about, always questioning everything I say. They don't trust me. They hate me. I don't trust them. I hate them. So to give you an example of what's going on, someone left a great comment and said they're evil people. And, they're just evil. And they were like, please don't check that. Please don't check that, because they're trying to do something so evil, sexually harassing, peddling in the book. I'm depicted as someone getting raped, but I Need a Girlfriend is seen as more horrible a comment, which it's not. I understand you need a girlfriend. Whereas a book depicting me as being gang raped by a bunch of white boys is not sexual harassment. Saying that white men won't like my vagina is not sexual harassment. To me, it's all the same group of sexual harassers. So I'm supposed to be seen as somebody who will allow myself to be sexually harassed in a book, out loud with this audio system, and I'm crazy. The book alone means I'm not crazy. There isn't going to be a great reveal that the book doesn't exist, because it does exist and people know it's me. And they said they left out the part with people that it was my professor. How could you leave out that part? And I'm saying, what kind of sex trafficking ring did they include me in? Because that's what this is. It's a sex trafficking ring. The other part of the sex trafficking ring is that we want to know people who are being targeted and gang stalked. Everyone involved. I'm telling you what I know from this. They're confusing the situation by saying, well, maybe it was something that was being done in Catholic school. Most of the people who are involved are Jewish, Latino, and they have some Black people, but not a lot. What would they have to do with Catholic school? So I want to know where did this whole thing start? But I can tell you where my gang stalking started. It started in 2016. I was working at Lacoste, and there were a lot of people running in and stealing like polos and clothes. And when I told the police, it was, we started to have to focus more on that than selling. I was going to move from one location at Lacoste. First of all, I was going to leave completely. But then they were like, you can move to another location. So I decided to move to another location. When I was at the first location, one day, a guy came in and he talked to me. And he was a normal guy, nothing weird happened. But when I looked over, one of my managers and another man was staring at me as I was interacting with this man. And he asked me, I forgot what he asked me out for, but he asked me and I said, no, thank you, as a professional. So when I transferred to then as the following started, and it was like not nice following, it was like threatening following. So then I transferred to another location, and then the voices started, the talking, and the police heard it, and I notified them, and they picked it up. And then after that, that was 2017. I went to the Roosevelt Island tram, and I was going to film the tram. And I was in the middle of filming, and a woman walks in front of my camera as I'm filming and just stares and then walks away. So I continued filming. I thought, maybe she made a mistake. She probably saw me with the the cell phone out, and she just walked into the video. So I never mentioned it. I didn't say anything to her. I was filming, and suddenly they're waiting for me. It was her and another woman. And I looked over and I turned my camera so I could film it because I didn't feel comfortable with it. And I waited for them to leave. They never approached me. I never approached them. As I'm walking, because I'm still filming, a guy comes around the side of me and he stops, like on this side behind me. Okay, talking about all of this, what is this whole thing is attracting. This anyway. So he stands over here and I don't notice him because I'm filming. I go to turn the camera around and he's standing there and he has, I don't have a moderator. So who's a moderator? This is another moderator. I should not have any moderator on this. Let me just see something. Okay, so I made sure to turn off any moderator because it said like another moderator. I'm the only moderator. I'm the only person running this channel. So that's part of okay, so this is part of the whole issue. Someone who is clearly not making sense is leaving comments, but we're gonna ignore those comments. I'm just gonna go back to what I was telling you. So he stands there and I'm waiting for the person I'm with to walk towards me. And he's like on a phone and he's like looking in my direction. So now I'm thinking that's strange. So I continue to film and I go in, across the street and walk. I turn around and look back. The two women, the one who walked in front of the camera, joined him and joined another man. And they look like they're waiting for me. So at this point, I'm like, that's making me uncomfortable. Now there were, how many people? 4 people now. It started with the one woman, then it was the one guy on the phone looking in my direction. Now there's another man who approached, and the woman who was with her from before when she walked back over to her. So, of course, staying around too. I waited around long enough that one of the people they were with met up with someone else, and they left, and that person stayed. That's what happened. That was in 2017, and they continued to stalk me that way since. And this is what I'm saying. I didn't understand that as of 2016, my life would be filled with people harassing and stalking me. By the time I found out about the book in 2019, it was through this system of them yelling and screaming things. And what they yelled and screamed was, I accuse a bunch of white men of rape. I'm a liar. I accused a bunch of white men of rape. And what are they talking about? So they then said, it's in the book. And they told me about the book. I searched the book. It was online and I was shocked. I said, well, this is probably fake. They're just doing this, I buy the book. The book comes, it's ripped, it's yellow, it's autographed to someone else. And I'm like, well, this was a book that I bought. It's autographed to someone else. There are ripped pages and it's yellow. They said, you don't have to pay for it. Someone just yelled, didn't you sell a book like that? No. And that's part of what I'm saying. Like, they want to match things up. And I'm wondering if they did these things intentionally, like to keep me like, oh, well, you did this, you did that. I did not. You let's go point by point. I didn't sell a book that was autographed. They said, oh, that's my point with you. The people the people you hire to stalk and harass me are mentally ill people who decide to just yell out stuff and then go, oh. So every time they accuse me of making a mistake, they've made 10 times the mistakes I've made throughout their lives. And they're pretending that they're official. They said they're with the police. They can't be with the police. So for every mistake that I made, you made more mistakes out loud over and over and over and over again in your life. So just like you want to punish me for my mistakes, you should be punished for your mistakes. Because you are people who are evil. It's not a mistake when you're doing it intentionally. So let's go do this. Did I ever sell an autograph book? No. Did I ever sell a book with pages ripped? No. Did someone think a book that I sold as used, I sold it as new but old, and I let them know that it was not a new book. Again, here's what we're talking about. If a book was published, say, in the 90s and you're selling it in the 2000s, there would be signs of age. And that's something anyone who buys a book would understand. It would be I don't know if I sold it as new or used, but definitely it was a book that I noted was aged. And it wasn't yellowed. This is clearly yellowed, and that's the difference. So when we're talking about things that most people would realize, I shouldn't have to explain these things. And they say, and she handled it the right way. Of course I did. This is my point. My point becomes, I have pictures of the book, and I can show you guys at some point the book was not aged. But the people, probably them, who falsely accused me of selling a used aged book, because the book was not used, a used aged book, wasn't autographed, there were no ripped pages, the pages were not yellow, they were white pages. But it would have signs of age because it was a book that was published and printed in the 90s, and I sold it in the 2000s. So it was like years and years of being a book. So again, this is what I'm saying. They think they're going to keep throwing these things at me, but they're lies. And people would know that. I have 100% positive feedback on eBay. 100%. And I've had that account since probably 2000 and something, early 2000s. So I'm talking about an account that's close to about 20 years old. 100% positive feedback. But this is what I'm saying. Like, I would spend all my time arguing with people who throw things out at me, and then I can show 100% positive feedback. So clearly the book wasn't yellowed. And for them to even have said, oh, it was yellowed, they were probably the ones who falsely accused me of it. But I'm going to hold on for 2 seconds and show you the book that I'm telling you about so that you understand the difference between what they're accusing me of and what I received. So I'm just going to pause this. I can't pause it, I don't think. I don't know how to. But I'm going to just cover this up and then show you. Okay, so here is the book. As you can see, it is yellowed. Here's the yellowing. It is autographed. Do you guys see that? And now I'm just looking for the torn pages. Do you see the pages torn right here? Oh. Do you see that? You see that? And let me just show you the yellowing. You guys see that? That's clearly yellowing. So Amazon was good. They let me have the book for free. But as you guys can tell, let me just show you this other part of this. And here's like a water here. As you guys can tell, I wasn't making up the fact that it was clearly a used book that I bought as a free book, and it's not the same as what they're clearly lying about. So they just said, did I show the book that I was that they claimed I sold that was used to my ex-boyfriend? No, it was like a huge book. How would I have even carried the book or gotten the book around? This is all, this is all how they want this to be. They want this to be like, you did this and you did that, one lie after another, and then they don't want to have their names attached because they don't want to be seen as liars. So anyway, let me just go over this. And here's another thing about the book at the bottom. You see that? So in the book, my name is Shamega, obviously, and there's a point where they talk about her accusing white boys of rape. I don't know whether it was ever decided whether she did accuse the white boys of rape or not, but I'm just going to show you one part of it. Okay, here's my name, Shamega. Do you guys see that? Let me put my finger right next to it. Do you guys see that? I'm Shamega. And I'm just going to find the part. So it goes back to slavery, of course. I mean, if you're going to use my name in a book, you have to talk about slavery. Here's my name again. Did I say that? I don't know. All right. So pretty much what they were trying to make me believe is that this book would be like a made-up book that someone made up. Do you guys see that? You guys see my name right there? To harass me, but it doesn't really exist. But it does exist because I have the book right here, and it does exist, and that's my name, and that was my professor at Fordham. So when they're starting to talk, here I am again. Oh, this was after the underwear was stolen from the character's dormitory, and of course, the character's Shamega. You hear that? So let me just put my finger near my name, and it describes. It was the break-in. So I'm going to put my name. I'm going to put my finger near my name, and then down here it describes the break-in, which happened to me in real life after all of this. Do you guys see the word break-in? And it describes her underwear. So when they're yelling all the sexually harassing things out, they picked up things in the book. And of course, it's sexual harassment in the book, but when you yell it out and you start talking about my body parts, it's more sexual harassment. I'm trying to find the pages. See, I'm on a lot of pages in the book. So you'll see if you get the book or you search online, you'll see me depicted. But as I'm doing this live, if you guys have questions, feel free to ask. They've been trying to block me from talking about things because they feel that if I talk about it, then I don't know. I can't put, they want to do synthetic telepathy on me, but I can't do it on them because I can't imagine what they were thinking. So I'm flipping through. I had it bookmarked, but now it's not. So I'm kind of flipping through, looking through some pages that I can show you. So as I'm flipping through, they're yelling something out like, didn't that say Hannah Montana? Didn't that say such and such? Why would it say any of that? Okay, here's another part that says Shamega. Do you guys see right there? You see that? I have to put my finger on it. So Shamega is a main, not a main character, but a main part of the book, not a main character. But I'm going to see if I can find it. I probably will have to put the phone down for a few minutes to look. Okay, so I'm going to put the phone down for a few minutes to look, which gives people time if they want to come into the chat and ask questions. All right, I found a part that I want you guys to see, and I'm going to read it to you folks. Okay, here it is. It talks about here, I'm not going to go through everything, but it talks about here that one of the things they taught me was never to be a victim. So in my senior year of high school, when I was raped by 2 members of the basketball team, she tried for a casual tone, but my exclamation of horror threw her off just a little. And let me just show you that part of the book. All right, so I'm going to go down a little bit further where it says, when I was raped, I decided not to be a victim. I reported the rape. I pressed charges. We went to court as she spread butter. And I lost. She put her knife down, but neglected to pick up the fork. Insufficient evidence of resistance. White boys, black girl. Young woman, not a virgin to begin with. Young men with promising lives ahead of them. One now at Harvard, one's at Brown. Shamega finished her coffee, then pushed her plate away. I know it's a cliche, but it was like being raped all over again. Once in Barbie's living room, once in my hometown's courtroom. The second time was almost worse because it was so public. And last night when whoever it was grabbed me, I felt as if it were happening a third time, that I was being violated again. That's why I got so hysterical. I won't go through that again. The cops weren't so bad, but the lawyers, she shuddered, and the jury, and the looks from my classmates. So that was why Shamega had looked so distressed in class yesterday. The discussion of rape was too painfully close to her own experience. And this must be why she called me instead of a counselor. I talked with some understanding about rape, and she knew she could trust me. Shamega cleared dishes from the table and scraped the uneaten cakes into garbage. I ran hot water into the sink, squirted dish soap. Okay, so they say way to be over dramatic, Shamega. So as you can tell, for them, this isn't a big deal. It was a big deal when they falsely accused me of being a liar, just now accusing me of lying about the condition of a new book. But for them, I'm being over dramatic. Going through all this stuff, being falsely accused of all sorts of things is being over dramatic. Doing this to me and them trying to publicize it so that it could seem like I accused a bunch of white men of rape, including a guy they claimed in real life, a guy who asked me to marry him. I accused him of rape. How would that happen? That's over dramatic. What I'm going through is reality. It's not being over dramatic. They said, how can we seem more horrible than this? This is a sex trafficking ring. I'm going to read you something else from the book. I'm going to pause it to show you why I think this is all a sex trafficking ring. And they're all in this together to sex traffic me. Okay, so about me. So it seems like here's a hate mail that the character gets. Okay, so it says here, babes who think they have brains are really second-rate pains. They're all really dunces who think of a female anatomy that rhymes with dunces. Their heads should be stuck up there. Think of a butt part of your body that starts with an A and ends with, oh, the other does that too, but has an N in it. So here it is. The sender's address box was blank. I stared at the screen in shock and disgust, tearing my eyes away from the crude verse when I heard the clatter of angry feet in the hallway. Then Shamega stood in my office door, a printout in her hand. She looked furious. This is it, she snapped. This is the last straw. He's not getting away with another thing. Good, I responded. It's about time. You can call security from my phone. She says, well, it doesn't say she says, but I'm going to say she says. Security, hell no, I'll take care of Tibby. Tibby to myself. I've let this go much too long. Shamega's jaw was set in determination. I just hope. Then there was a long pause, long enough for me to picture my petite student stand lying battered and broken in some deserted alleyway. What, I implored. I just hope I don't kill him. So that is another thing. So at what point is it not sexual harassment? Again, I'm going to put these words up. You can see the words that I didn't use. I don't know why they keep blocking everything. If you do this publicly, there's nothing to block. It's public. This is, this is freedom of speech. We have civil rights, public. So when they're talking and screaming this nasty stuff out about me, it's in writing also. It's in writing. So I'm being complaint files. I nodded wordlessly. Here it goes down. They start talking more about the Shamega drawing, which is, again, another form of harassment of the Shamega character in this book. So you can see that. I want to see if there was anything else on this page, but you guys can see the name Shamega. Let me put my finger on it. And then the person is like trying to figure out what's the name. Shamala, Shamona, Shamega. Okay, you guys see that. So when I'm talking to you guys about this gang stalking, I have a lot of it in writing. It's a lot of things over time that happened. And even for them to say, oh, I'm being melodramatic. Why is that melodramatic to them? Having their reaction about this, which was like they were upset, beyond upset, banging on the walls. I'm accusing all these people of sexual harassment, of rape, and only to find out that in the book it's in print that I'm the one being sexually harassed. I'm the person who is the victim and not these imaginary white boys in high school. So when we were first going through this on this channel and I was talking to you, I'm like, that never happened in my high school to me. That would never happen. So they, at the time, they were like, oh, I can see how that would make the white boys in your school look bad. Of course it would. But what makes it worse is that then they started trying to figure out, in my life, was I ever gang raped? They went from one thing to another thing to another thing. So that to me is melodrama. This is beyond melodrama. It's sexual harassment. So I have one more scene I want you to see from the book. I'm going to just pause this and get it. Okay, so the other scene I want to show you is proving, like, I had braided extensions in my hair when I was in college. And so Shamika, the character, has dreadlocks. So let me just point this out. Here's the name Shamika. And here's the dreadlocks. And I'm just going to read a little bit of it. Okay, Shamega heard my gasps and glanced up just in time to note my first step towards her. Dreadlocks bobbing, she shook her head at me in a sharp, disapproving negative. Leave me alone, I can take care of myself. Irresolute, I remained rooted to the concrete walkway for one far too long minute. Shamega gave me a straight wrestling look, then turned back to Tibby and continued to give him hell. You see that? Let me just point out the name Shamega. So again, I've shown you pictures of me when I had my hair in braids so that you guys know it does match me. So, you know, I'm going to do another live later, but if you guys have questions, feel free to come up with your questions and ask me about it. I'll answer as best I can. I'm dealing with a lot. I'm dealing with this complete harassment. They wanted to keep this private. I'm so confused as to why they wanted to keep all of this private when they put it out publicly. It doesn't make any sense to me, but I think they just said something like they thought if you do something bad publicly, it would be okay. I don't even understand that. That doesn't make any sense to me. But I think what it was that connecting to our, this goes to show that the character filed police charges. It was publicized. Okay, they keep interrupting. Just how they feel, like it's part of their manipulation of me. Oh, you're being melodramatic. I'm being sexually harassed. I'm being sex trafficked. Oh, but that's melodrama to them. It's a crime. Thank you for watching.